right, that he should guard his stomach from the haram. يَتْرُكُ مَا شُبِّهَ بِاهْتِمَامِ. And anything that has a shubuhat, then he should avoid that also. Doubtful things, he should avoid doubtful things. يَحْفَظُ فَرْجَهُ وَيَتَّقِي الشَّهِيدِ فِي الْبَطْشِ وَالسَّعِيدِ مَمْنُوعًا يُرِيدُ. That he should also guard his private parts, and that's related to what you eat, because if you eat haram, you will incline towards doing things that are haram. Sidi Ahmed Zarruq in the Qawaid, he said, النعمة نعمتان نعمة اللقمة ونعمة الصحبة. The blessing, this is one of his qawaid. The blessing is two blessings. The blessing of luqma, which is what you eat, and the blessing of sahba is the company that you keep. Those are the two blessings of life. What you eat and the company you keep. The reason that eating is so important, it's a great blessing, it sustains your life, but because if you eat haram, you will do haram. That's what he says, رغم أنفك, in spite of yourself. And this is why it's very important to guard your stomach from doubtful things and from haram things. And you will notice that if you eat halal food, you will feel different. Like eating halal food, you will feel different if you eat halal food. If you eat doubtful food, it's going to have an effect. Most of the food that you see now in manufactured, mass-produced is doubtful. The majority is doubtful for a number of reasons. One, they use pig fat sometimes to clean their these big machines that they have to grease their machines. All kinds of things. There's a lot of bacteria that get into pus, things that we consider najasa, get into these things. Many things. So it's better to eat local food that is grown in your local area if you can find it. Small farms, small dairies. You can get, if you're in the United States, there's still small organic farms that are trying to fight against these dominant things. So it's important for us to support them. And things are a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, they're cheaper. Because part of the problem with modern people is they don't understand economics. When I was young, one of the major concerns in the United States was trade deficits. So you guys don't remember this because you're all too young for the people from America. But when I was a kid, the thing they were constantly talking about was the trade deficits and the great threat that these trade deficits posed to American economy. But people ignored it because it was cheaper to buy Chinese goods, so they would go to the store and they would find the Chinese good and they would just buy the Chinese good. Well, every time they did that, they were undermining somebody in their own community. And so when Japanese cars came in, they said, I'm going to buy a Japanese car because it's better and it's cheaper than buying the local car. And then basically they destroyed the American auto industry. Right? So this is economics. So when you think about your economics, you have to support local communities, right? I mean, to go like here, you can go here in Turkey. Like I went to a tailor here, and all the cloth is from Turkey, right? And this is a reasonably fair trade country because people are paid reasonably well in relation to other countries, you know, the sweatshop type thing. But the cloth is from Turkey. The tailor is a really pious Muslim, right? He prays 5 prayers in the masjid. And the masjid's right next to his little tailoring shop. And so you go down there and he makes shirts for you, he makes pants for you. So instead of going to Nordstrom's or to some big company, you're actually supporting this guy who's giving sadaqah, who's taking care of his family, who's supporting a masjid, right? And then he's contributing to the economy of his not only his neighborhood but of his country. When I was in Mecca, I used to tell people buy made in Turkey, because they had a choice to buy the prayer rugs that were made in Turkey, and they were actually nicer quality because the prayer rugs that I have in my house were made in Turkey that I got in Mecca and Medina. But my point was, even if they weren't as good quality, it's better to buy from Turkey from Muslims that are making those things than to buy from China. Right? I'm not being anti-Chinese here. I'm just talking about economics and strengthening Muslim economies and making people more aware of these things. So if you have a choice in Turkey to buy Turkish goods or made in China, you should buy Turkish goods, even if they're more expensive, even if the quality might not be as good. Because in the long run, you're getting a little better quality, a little cheaper price, you're destroying your economy. And over time, you end up like the United States that has 20% unemployment in some places, where there's no jobs. And then the only jobs they have are flipping hamburgers at Burger King, right, with the pink slime. So this is the way Muslims have to start thinking. You know, just really thinking about local economies, fair trade, and this is all part of a holistic religion, because you'll feel different. You'll feel different wearing clothes that you know were made by pious people that you're supporting, and they weren't made by exploiting people. Because he's happy as pie in his little shop there. Really, it's not a sweatshop. It's not like 1,000 people sitting in these things for long hours, and sometimes they lock the doors. They don't even let them out in the real serious sweatshops. So this is what what he's talking about. And then he says, that you shouldn't do anything until you know the hukm of Allah in it. And that's why speaking have ahkam. There's things that you can say and you can't say. And we have to all of us become more vigilant about these things. They say if you want to talk about somebody or need to, what you should do, I mean the ulama say this, is that you should imagine them in the room. Just in your mind, imagine if they're there in the room, and then what you say, think about how they would feel about what you're saying, how they would react. Would they get angry? Would they get defensive? And that's, and this is difficult for people in positions where you need to discuss people, because there are people, if you're working, if you have managerial positions, if you're running any organization, you're going to be involved in things. And then if you're doing things in the world, political involvement, engaging people, trying to work out what people's agendas are, things like that, because not everybody is clear about what they're doing. So then it becomes tricky, but you have to be very careful and be vigilant about it.